Taurus. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for July of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Taurus, this month's horoscope starts out with a focus on your finances and finishes with an emphasis on your home life. If this horoscope brings up questions for you, a natal and transit reading can answer them and can cover a wide variety of topics if you need that. You'll find a link to help you do that in the YouTube description below. Well, let's start with a couple of asteroid goddesses that are dear to my heart, most particularly Ceres and also Juno. So here's Ceres traveling along through Cancer, your third house. Ceres is about our finances. She is about our financial well-being and also the ways that we manage and perform stewardship of our health and take care of our physical selves. She's moving along through your third house, triggering a lot of ideas about how to do these things more, but you might find that those ideas are a little bit abstracted and not so concrete. So putting in the effort to actually do something with those ideas would be a good idea. And as the month goes along, Ceres connects up with the sun. You see the sun is moving towards Ceres here. And on the 21st, the sun and Ceres form a conjunction here in your third house in what I like to call Financial Epiphany Day. I'll label something an Epiphany Day if it's the day when that planet conjuncts the sun and they're both moving in a forward direction, so there's no retrogradation to worry about. Usually the planet is moving at its peak speed as well. And so it is with Ceres. And the sun brings the spotlight of attention. And so you can find that you can put really high quality attention on your finances during Financial Epiphany Day. And this is a really good time to create a new financial plan or a new budget, or even ask for a raise and just be, thinking about your finances now while things are going swimmingly and put things into place so that they can continue that way. The same applies actually to diet too, because Ceres rules our bodies and the food we put into them. So the next thing I want to tell you about is that Juno is going to go retrograde, triggering a relationship retrospection period that's going to last for some months. It starts right here on July 24th. You don't really see it until the 25th because I've got this chart set for the Pacific Daylight Time. But here she is starting her relationship retrospection period, which is going to go on until October 23rd. And it's going to have us all thinking deeply and introvertedly about our relationships and putting them through a rather Pisces litmus test, asking ourselves, do I feel like this person that I'm partners with, and really it applies to both personal and professional partnerships. So if you have a business partner or you are, in a firm or a group practice with partners, or if you are married, or if you just have like a cohabitation or co-parenting or common law marriage kind of a relationship with somebody, but it's a committed thing, then Juno applies and you'll be asking yourself, do I feel that sense of soul connection with this partner? And if not, how can I bring us into better alignment on the spiritual level? And how might this partnership do more good in the wider world too? How might it be brought, bent towards charitable interests and pursuits that we could be doing in this team that we have? So this is happening in your 11th house, and so it's going to also bring in themes of community. And so this might play out in your circle of friends, in your social group, in your wider community in some way, or in your sense of tribal alignment in your partnerships. Asking yourself, do I feel like this person that I'm married to would also be a friend if I wasn't married to them? Do I feel like we share an ideology? So deep questions, and they could lead to some pretty interesting results. Now I'm going to throw the ball over to Julia, and she's going to tell you about the transit of Mars this month.
Oh, yes. Hey there, Taurus. So for the first few days of the month, Mars is in a bit of a tricky place, the 12th house. And he really spent a lot of time in the 12th and last month. So totally check out our last month's videos to learn a lot more about that cycle if you're interested in. But for the first few days of the month with Mars in the 12th, Mars is a planet of action, activity. It's very upfront and direct and straightforward. The 12th house is the house of the collective. It's a very hidden house. It's a very diffuse place. So these energies are kind of a weird fit together. So with Mars in the 12th for the first few days of the month, you might notice yourself getting kind of itchy and irritated out of nowhere because Mars represents our anger. For example, something you think that doesn't bother you, you go back a few hours later and you start mulling over it and notice that it really, really annoyed you. And Mars in the 12th is a lot less inclined to be upfront with their boundaries and upfront with anything that irritates them, and tends to prefer to be a little bit more indirect and passive aggressive. But then after the 4th, Mars is going to enter your first house. And that's a huge shift because the first house is the house of self. So with Mars in the first for the rest of the month, where if you're annoyed by something, you're going to let other people know about it, which is totally different than how you've been for the last month or so. And Mars in the first house, because this is the house of self, it represents your physical body. So you might notice that you've got a lot of energy that needs to come out. This is a wonderful transit for being active, for maybe starting a workout regimen or going on a lot of long walks or jogs. And if you don't find a way to sort of channel this activity, it can kind of back up into a little bit of frustration where you might be kind of picking fights with people, for example. But yeah, it can be constructively used as a time to just kind of be super active and maybe even do some things that are beneficial to making your body stronger by perhaps getting into a workout or something like that. Then Mercury, the planet of communication and mentation, begins the month in your second house, where it's just going to be for a few days before it shifts into the third on July 4th. But with Mercury in the second, and again, we really focused on that a lot last month because it was mainly happening last month for you. Mercury in the second is a time where your mind might be very preoccupied with your possessions, with the sort of more material things in your life, like how to sort of make more money, how to sort of acquire more things that you might find very satisfying or supportive to you. Since Mercury likes to communicate, you might find yourself communicating a lot around values, the values that you have, because those are also ruled by the second. Then after July 4th, Mercury is going to be in your third for the rest of the month. And Mercury in the third house have a lot in common together. Both have to deal with communication. Both have a lot to do with movement. Mercury is one of the travel planets, and the third house represents short journeys. So not necessarily getting on an airplane to go to a different country, but, maybe going on a local camping trip or visiting the park or going to a beach. So you might notice yourself making a lot of trips around this time. Maybe you're zooming around your neighborhood, going through your to-do list, or maybe you're taking some fun weekend trips and, exploring sort of beyond your neighborhood a little bit too. Mercury in the third is a wonderful transit for writing and learning if you're in school or you have any writing projects in your life. And then on the 16th, that's a very important day to mark down because we're going to be having Greater Epiphany Day. And those happen a few times a year. Usually they bookend Mercury retrograde cycles. And technically what's happening during a Greater Epiphany Day is Mercury is exactly conjoined the sun in the sky. And these are times when we can get a lot of insights, especially regarding the area that Mercury is in our chart. So in the third house, you might be getting some aha moments, maybe some insights, maybe some revelations and clarification on any writing projects you're a part of, maybe even around learning too, with Mercury in the third house. And since the third house also represents your siblings and neighbors, maybe you're getting connections in your mind about them too in your life.
Mm.
And then finally, we'll talk about Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and pleasure. She starts the month in your second house, where she's going to be for the first 17 days. And Venus really likes being in the second. The second house is, can represent possessions. It can represent, the things in life that you own that you really, really love and are very dear to you, like maybe collectibles, maybe clothes, maybe furniture. And Venus in the second house tends to attract things to her, because Venus's power is in attraction. And she's also known as a bit of a lucky planet. So maybe you acquire some things for the first 17 days of the month that give you a lot of pleasure. It could be luxury items, artistic things, fashionable things too, because those are all ruled by Venus. Maybe somebody gives you a nice present, or maybe you're earning a little bit more money at work or through your business, because the second house can be the house of earned income. Then after July 17th, Venus moves into the third, where she's joining Mercury, and she's adding a little bit of pleasure and luck and harmony to your ability to communicate. So if you've been having any issues with anyone lately, and you really need to smooth things over and use your words in ways which can really kind of harmonize the relationship, this will be a wonderful time for it. And it's also a great time for getting along well with your siblings too. Third house can also represent cousins and your neighbors. So you might find that you're socializing and connecting with them more. And the third house, since it's the house of education, means that you might even find a little pleasure this month in learning something new too.
So nice. So I have 2 moons and a season change to talk about. The first one is this full moon in Capricorn, which is happening in your 9th house, pulling away from the sun in the 3rd house across the axis of communication. This particular moon we're calling healing with lots of help. And that's because the stress in this moon is in the square with Chiron. And so Chiron is observing and noticing that the moon is pulling one way, the sun is pulling another. The moon is pulling for effort and self-sacrifice and structure. The sun is pulling for warmth and relaxation and intuition and emotion. And then Chiron can't help but notice that there's this split here, and Chiron wants to bring it back together. So creating balance among these factors is really important, but most particularly in your communication. So the moon is being in the 9th house is pulling you towards a big picture view, and possibly because the moon is in Capricorn, maybe being, what shall I say, like legalistic and heavy-handed about your worldview. And yet the sun in Cancer in the 3rd house is more curious and wanting to discuss things in a warm and friendly way. And so Chiron is saying, have those conversations and learn and open up your mind and be curious. So then the next thing that happens is that we have the seasonal change. The sun leaves the sign of Cancer and enters into Leo right here in your 4th house and begins to light up the arena of home and family, heritage, domestic life, roots. And so wherever the sun goes, it shines the spotlight of attention, and bringing your high quality attention to this arena is a really good thing to do. So putting some attention on your home and the people that you live with, or the animals if you have fur babies, and how to make your home a better nest for you to grow and expand in. A place that you can really feel like, the royalty in the castle. Having Leo in the 4th house definitely says you want to be king or queen of your own castle, that's for sure. And then the moon is going to join the sun right here, along with Ceres, and a beautiful trine over here to Jupiter, bringing even more attention and energy to this arena of home and family. And so this new moon is a really good time to plant seeds, especially creative seeds. We're calling this one Seeds of Creativity Can Expand Endlessly. And I would say this moon is a really good time for you to do some creative projects around the house that will make you feel more like your home has your own stamp of personality on it. And Jupiter's trine to this moon pretty much guarantees that those projects will have, an ever expanding life of their own. So make them good ones. Well, that's what we have for you today, Taurus. You can always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscope tab. And if you did want a reading to explore any of the themes of this horoscope, you can find the readings tab on our website. And if you're interested in some of the backstory behind the new or full moon or Juno retrograde, you can find that on the monthly forecast page. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.